Ever since I was a child, I've been taught how to fight climate change. And frankly, I think it's sad that we now rely on children to understand the importance of the world we inhabit and that we ourselves ruined, just because the generations before ours weren't able to do so. I remember being in elementary school and being taught how to recycle, and I remember learning catchy songs like the 3R song, Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, in order to build that green mindset at a very young age. And I have to say, this form of hypocrisy actually worked, because as of today, I can say that I recognize the impact that my singular actions make on the world collectively. One of the lessons that stuck to me the most is the way we use and recycle plastic. So, plastic is kind of one of the most discussed topics when it comes to climate change, and it's definitely common knowledge that plastic harms the earth, but I came to discover that a lot of people are misinformed or are not informed at all about how plastic actually impacts our world. So I'm going to give a really brief background before actually explaining my plan to implement policies that cut the use of non-use plastic in our school. So, our really big reliance on plastic has caused it to spread worldwide and in places where it definitely shouldn't be in. And the first of these places is our ocean, our sea. Basically, I think you've all heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's accumulation of marine debris that is found in the area between the west coast of North America and Japan. And it's a vortex of plastic waste that floats in our sea, basically for eternity. But why for eternity, you'll ask? Because plastic is not biodegradable. This basically means that it takes 450 years for it to break down, and even when it does, it never completely decomposes, because plastic comes from petroleum. Petroleum comes from dead organisms that died millions and millions of years ago. But when petroleum is processed, the organisms in the earth that are in charge of breaking down organic matter don't recognize plastic as organic matter, and that's why plastic cannot decompose. At this moment, people have to find a way to dispose of plastic, and that's how it ends up in our seas and creates ocean contamination. Oh, no. Another thing we have to take in consideration is that when we throw this waste in our sea, it doesn't only harm the environment, but it also harms the organisms that live in it. So, I'm talking about the animals. Basically, when an animal eats the plastic that ends up in the ocean, either of two things can happen. First one is that it eats the organism, the plastic, and because of the toxin in the plastic, it dies. The second thing that can happen is that the plastics in the animal's body end up in our food. And I know that's not a very pleasing image, but it's just how things are. Any organism that encounters plastic is harmed by it, especially in the marine environment, fauna or flora. And an animal can die because of plastic either by entanglement or ingestion. And currently, more than 700 species are known for being killed by one of these two reasons. Another impact that plastic has on our world is through global warming and climate change. Basically, plastic comes from fossil fuels. And the process of extraction, transportation, and manufacturing of fossil fuels releases billions of greenhouse gases in our environment, in our atmosphere. Plus, when plastic can't be disposed in landfills or in the sea, it's incinerated. 91% of the plastic we use is not recycled, which leaves it to be disposed in one of these three ways. And when plastic is incinerated, it releases, again, billions of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. This year only, it's been predicted that more or less 850 million tons of greenhouse gases will be released into the atmosphere. And by 2050, this number is predicted to increase to 2.2 billion a year if we continue at this rate. So I think you have a pretty clear image of how truly impactful plastic can be on our world. What I think is that I'm still very young, so the effect that my singular actions have on climate change and the world in general are very sheer, they're very limited. But this doesn't discourage me from pushing other people to do what I do and from doing it myself, because I know that my generation and the generations that come after mine are in charge of our future. I happen to be a part of the Go Green Club at this school. Basically what we've been doing in the last few weeks is we've made plans, activity plans, for things that can make our school more eco-friendly. And I've been focusing on the impact of plastic on our school and how we can cut the use of non-use plastic. In the past, there have been some implementing of policies. For example, we have placed recycling bins in the hallways available for everyone to use. And we've also cut the use of plastic bottles, which is really great because a lot of people use plastic bottles every day and they get thrown away carelessly. And plastic bottles is one of the major wastes that impact our earth in regards to plastic. But we really haven't gone down to the essential. There are some things that can still be cut and that haven't been cut, especially in our cafeteria, in our lunch. We have 205 students in our high school and 140 students in our middle school. Keep this number in mind, and I'll explain why it's important later. Our meal plan includes mono-use plastics like yogurt containers, the spoons we use to eat the yogurt, the bread plastics, the breadstick plastics, the ketchup and mayo packets, they're all made of plastic. There are so many mono-use plastics, I could go on. Considering that these are all parts of our meal plan, and that there are, as I said before, approximately 350 students, most of which don't bring their food from home every day, we are consuming over 250 mono-use plastics every day and throwing them away to be disposed in one of the ways I described previously. I also wanted to add that the other, I think it was a couple of days ago, I managed to actually get the plastic, with the rest of my group obviously, get the plastic containers to be replaced with organic products, which is a great achievement because as of today, we actually had organic products instead, which is great, and this is exactly an example of what I meant to say. So, the most conventional way to fix this problem would be to replace all the plastics with other products that weren't plastic-based. But since that's an unrealistic solution, because it would mean that we would have to invest a lot of money in this change, because organic products are more expensive, we found a better way, which actually would benefit more people. So, as I said before, it's important to involve smaller children into these activities because that's what builds the green mindset. And it's important to do it in a way that stimulates the child. And we do this through creativity. What my group came up with is that we would collect the plastic waste that we use in the cafeteria, obviously in a sanitary way, so we would wash it, clean it, gloves on, every measure that has to be taken. Then, as we already did, we contacted the art department for the elementary, and we got them to get involved with our group and approve for us a project that would involve all elementary school students in order to have them make artworks out of this plastic waste that we would have thrown away in other cases. They would be making artwork while we would be teaching them about climate change and how plastic truly impacts our world. And after that, this artwork would be sold in an auction that would be around winter break or maybe later, depends. And the money that we raise would be used to buy a precious plastic machine. Basically, a precious plastic machine is a semi-industrial device that takes plastic waste and creates new plastic materials out of it. So this is really conventional for the school if you think about it, because they would be saving money for all the products that they would have to buy, so they could be making them, they could be making these products on their own with the plastics that would have be thrown away in another case. And at the same time, it stimulates the mind of young children and builds the green mindset for them in the future. With this presentation, I wanted to give you all an example of what it means to take action. Because I've been seeing a lot of talking, I've been seeing a lot of people saying, oh yeah, the world's like literally going down to pieces, but I've been seeing really little action in regards to this happening. And it's the little things that actually bring us to a result in the end. That's what pushes the cycle of change, and that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm pushing all of you to do today. Thank you.